Hi everyone, welcome to Leadership That Delivers, a PBC webinar on leadership. I'm your host, Dr. Nancy Parenteau, and what I'll cover today are 3 grounding practices and how they can be part of a secret sauce for highly effective life science development, and that's through their empowerment of the 6 components of leadership. The agenda for today is first, who this is for. I'll give you a little background on why I'm doing it, who I am, why leadership is a pivotal factor, the 3 grounding principles as promised, the practices, I should say, the 6 components of leadership, achieving resonance of those 6 components for exemplary leadership, where we're going to find an enormous return on investment. And then finally, I'll end with the ways my PBC, I can help you in your leadership if you so desire. So who is this for? Well, it's for all leaders in a position to contribute the success of either company-defining life science programs if you're in a larger organization, or the whole company if you're in, say, a biotech startup, for instance. And it really is relevant to everyone, particularly R&D, but also the clinical group, the regulatory group, the finance group, as well as your other management, CFO, CEO, if they're non-technical as well. Everybody can find something, I think, today. I hope that they can take home with them and start using tomorrow. Now, first, a little background on me. I have a career focused on impact, always have. It's in my DNA. I've always pursued cutting-edge science, from being a graduate student using hybridoma technology to generate monoclonal antibodies against developmental antigens, very novel use, all the way to regenerative medicine during my industry career, a brand new field, very tough field, as well as going full circle and coming back and connecting the dots in cancer immunotherapy in one of my startups. I've always had a passion for translation, and really what this is helping the translation in a different way, in a much broader way, and I hope an impactful way by helping you. I know what it is to build a team, the leading team in a field. I know your challenges there. I've been tasked with delivering first in class as well as best in class, and the product we developed is still best in class after 25 years. And I know the challenges of being a life science entrepreneur as well, but I also know the excitement. So please forgive me if I say you and we, and I use them interchangeably, because I still feel I'm part of that. Although today what we're really talking about is paying it forward, in which I've been trying to do since 2005 with Parenteau BioConsultants, PBC for short. And what this is about is really helping you create impact in life science through the creation of a special sauce. Now, contributing is not unusual, and it's nothing new, really. As we contribute leadership in the business of science, and we start to achieve, like landmark FDA approvals, for example, or you're noticed and recognized for your innovation, for your contribution to the industry you're in, for your personal potential, as well as your contribution to academic science, others will tap you on the shoulder and say, hey, how about contributing some wisdom, some insights, and do some work with us to help other people more broadly? So for me, I was tapped to join the Chemical Sciences Roundtable, the National Research Council, and I was asked to study the U.S. competitive position by these government agencies in traveling Europe and Japan and their top labs to understand what we were doing right and what we were doing wrong, all with the idea that we were going to use our insight and what we learned to the advantage of other people. So what you're seeing today is really a culmination of that, or a continuation. Maybe it's not exactly a culmination, but it's certainly bringing it all together. From a lot of observation, a lot of experience, a lot of work, in the field and trying to understand what is it exactly that can help us make the most difference in our life sciences. So why is leadership a pivotal factor? Why do I believe it is, other than artificial intelligence, why I believe it is the pivotal factor in life science success? Well, it's because leadership addresses the human factor of successful life science. So it's technology agnostic. It applies to all of us. And it impacts a number of different areas. It impacts astute decision making, team performance, and effective delivery on objectives. So the tangible output that we get and the value out of it is impacted greatly by our leadership. And that's what we're going to cover in a broad brush stroke today. Now, leadership also has that emotional component. And a lot of times when we talk about leadership, we focus on the emotional component. But can you imagine if you're not happy on the job and your staff and others, your colleagues are not happy on the job? Your job, the effectiveness of what you do, the operational effectiveness isn't going to be as great as if you're happy most of the time. And when they did a survey of 500 individuals and they asked, do you expect to feel joy in the job? 90% said, yes, I do. But in actuality, only 37% did. So we have another gap to deal with of a joy gap of 53%. So if we consider our operational effectiveness, which Tufts measures every year in the life science industry, and they say that about 20 to 25% of our pipeline programs actually make it to market, and even fewer are company sustaining. So we have an operational effectiveness gap that leadership can address. But then we also have this joy gap, the happiness gap that leadership can address. So I want you to think in the back of your mind, there's really two ways that leadership can impact, a very practical way and the emotional way of what we're doing. And that's what we'll cover today. Out of tune leadership, I call a silent killer. And I put silent in quotes because it can be more silent for some than others. So the more well-versed, the more in tune we are to our leadership, the less silent some of these killer symptoms are going to be. We're going to catch them early, and when we catch them, we'll know what to do about them. So what are some of these symptoms of out-of-tune leadership? Well, management by crisis is one. Functional silos developing is another. Results that take more effort, and be careful with this one because you don't want to be fooled into thinking, well, because I'm developing our product, it's gone from research to development now, we're working towards our IND, bureaucracy is increasing, documentation is increasing, the number of functional areas are increasing. It's natural things will take more effort. Be careful, because hidden in that is extra effort taken because things are getting a little bit out of kilter. And how can they get out of kilter? Well, your confidence in innovation can decline so that your problem solving is not head on. It's not searching for the best solutions. It can be backing off a bit and looking for the easiest solutions. We don't want that. Our vision becomes muddied as well when our leadership starts to get compromised. And that leads to a wavering strategy so that your people now don't have something concrete to hang on to. Not only is the vision unclear, but how to get there is unclear, naturally. And so we can't be surprised if people aren't on the same page. And so your expert teams will end up doing efforts that either aren't as timely as they used to be or as on target as they used to be, requiring a do-over, for example. And I used to really abhor do-overs, I tell you. So fine-tuned leadership is an enabler. It's a protector. And crises don't derail objectives. Even though you might have one, you know what to do about it. You know how to jump on it. Your team is aligned, they're energized, they have a consistent vision and strategy. The pipeline is focused and productive. No junk food on the plate, no Kool-Aid on the table. Innovation is not sheepish. It's looking for the best solutions and tackling things with the best solutions. And we'll cover quite a bit about innovation and keeping innovation top notch in a moment. And a bold vision is maintained and is enabled by that realistic, consistent strategy that you need. So those things together you're rewarded for your fine-tuned leadership by gaining these things. So therefore, it pays to keep your leadership skills in shape. It's like going to the gym. We go, we reach a certain fitness level, and then something happens, we get injured, we get sick, time element, we don't have as much time. Good leadership will give you more time. And our health and what we could do physically starts to decline. Well, the same is true for leadership. We have to always be practicing it. We have to always keep it in shape and keep it relevant for the situations we find ourselves in now. For example, the leader you were 5 years ago probably isn't the leader you want to be today, and isn't the leader you'll probably need to be 5 years from now. But first, before we get into specific exercises, it's good to get a good foundation and ground yourself in 3 practices. And if you ground your leadership with these 3 practices, they are going to give you the stock of your secret sauce. They're the foundation. They are going to make your life easier. They're the things that are going to help you reduce the amount of blood, sweat, and tears and still be enormously successful. So what are these 3 gems? Well, the first is navigate with dead-on GPS. The second is maintain the mind of a mountaineer. And the third is remember you're not Jules Verne. Now you think, well, of course I'm not. I know that. I mean, come on, it's obvious. But let's look at it. Let's look at these a little more closely in English. It's about creating a guiding perspective, which stays you on your purpose and your vision. It's about an earnest approach, earnest being the operative word, and staying earnest throughout your plan. And you'll have a plan. And lastly, a well-built vehicle. You want something that's going to allow you to make the best choices for your technology that you can. It is going to be a vital component to your secret sauce because it's going to give you a process that's that much better than anybody else's. And together, they ground all other actions. So the goal here is not to end up where we can't get there from here. And forgive me, people from Maine, for my attempt at an old Mainer accent. But what that means is when we are on a long journey, we're going to have many different decisions to make. And we want to approach our trip in the right way. And there'll be many causes to waver as well. There'll be times when there's a choice to go a little bit right or a little bit left. There'll be times when you face a hurdle and you have to make a decision. Do you take a detour around the mountain, or do you have a vehicle that can actually get you up a mountain? Do you actually have a choice in the matter? Some people, if they don't plan correctly, earnestly, won't even have a choice. They have to take the detour because their vehicle is not going to make it up there. All of these things then are all about time and money. And we don't want to end up, if you've ever been in a rural environment like I live in Vermont, and your GPS goes awry and you take a wrong turn, you know how that can really screw things up, right? You can end up having to take a U-turn. You can end up adding many more miles and hours to your trip. All kinds of things can happen. Well, the same is true for your life science development through the course from concept to market. So first things first, we want to keep ourselves out of the potato field, proverbial potato field, because Maine is known for their potatoes. So you can imagine setting out for a shiny building in Montreal in your sports car from Boston and taking a few wrong turns and ending up in rural Maine and next to a potato field. And the farmer comes up to you and gives you the bad news. We don't want any bad news. We want to keep our potential always optimized. And that is part of your secret sauce to be able to do that. So a guiding perspective maintains a clear vision. It is your done-on GPS. It maintains the long view of objectives. Somebody has to pay attention to where you're actually going, and that's you as the leader. Your staff is dealing with the day-to-day, month-to-month, quarter-to-quarter, even year-to-year. But someone has to be the keeper of the long-term view, the long-term objective, and that is you. So you can imagine yourself high up on a ladder, looking out so you can see above the clouds and focused on your objective, your long-term objective, your vision, and how you're going to get there. So you're focused on that. When we're buffeted by challenges during the course of development, it's so easy to try to come down a few rungs to something that's more stable, where you feel more stable. But you have to be careful because we can end up in the clouds. And what happens is your perspective shortens. So your decision making shortens. And what happens is the idea of coming up to a decision where do you go a little right or you go a little left, all of a sudden isn't quite as astute as it would be if you were still high on that ladder. And everything was relative to your long-term objectives. You have to really consciously say, what will this mean to us in the long run? In the long run. Everything that you get in to do that, because it gauges what is essential, what is good to know, and what is irrelevant or inconsequential. And all the inputs that you will get through the course of your development can be overwhelming if you don't have this guiding perspective to help you. So the whole goal here is to be more correct than not, to make the more correct decisions than not. And a lot of them will be based on relatively what does it mean in the long run. And even if you feel that you are not going to be there for FDA approval, for marketing of the product, that it's going to be acquired, handed off, does not matter. Does not matter. The value of your decision making, the prevention of the U-turns, or the lack of options in dealing with a hurdle are all based on astute decision making made at every step of the way. And the guiding perspective, maintaining that clear vision, helps you do that. So it underlies decision making at all levels, and it prioritizes actions. Prioritizes actions. This does not mean it ignores things. It prioritizes them because you know, based on what it means to you in the long run, what is essential, what is good to know, what is irrelevant and inconsequential. As a leader, it allows you to communicate a commitment to purpose. And that's going to maintain the vision and motivation for other people in the company and keep them all, everybody's effort working on the same vector, the same trajectory. An earnest approach is what guides the path to realization, and that's the mind of a mountaineer. Can you imagine us saving our money and wanting to go and climb Everest and summit Everest or K2, or something like that, and not looking for the best guide, the best leader that we possibly could, somebody that's going to really know not only the terrain, know it intimately, plan our expedition really well, safely, know the weather report, and be open to making sure they protect our safety as we go along, and knowing and having the courage to call us back when they need to. We want someone that's going to be there that allows us to achieve but not risk our lives doing it as well. So we want them to find us the best way forward, the best time to set out, and understand also what else is happening around us. So it's an earnest approach to everything. Everything, large and small, early research to last minute things for an IND, all in earnest. It confronts the elephants in the room for your technology. It prioritizes, therefore, fast fail. I used to tell my team, if there is something that's going to stop us, we want to be the ones to find it out first. Because not only do you have an opportunity to correct it, but you also have an opportunity to fast fail and do something else where your technology is more suited, for example. It clarifies, therefore, what is needed because you're really thinking about it. You're earnest about it. And it prioritizes, but never ignores issues of team and technology. We were standing around an office once and we were talking about this, that, things in the future. And I said, well, what about this? We're going to have to be concerned about this. How are we planning for this? And one of the operational people said, oh, well, we'll be lucky if we have that problem, Well, first of all, that person was wavering in their belief of the vision. And second of all, 3 guesses. We were lucky and we did have the problem. And wouldn't it have been nice to at least thought about it and planned for it up front? So we want to be sure not to ignore anything, but prioritize things. And certainly our guiding perspective is going to help us prioritize as well. And it's something to measure progress, honestly, by. So if we're not willing to measure our progress against this earnest approach, this earnest plan that we've developed and committed to, then we're more likely to waver in our vision and our strategy as well. Now, the well-built vehicle, remember, is going to give us those options that we need for innovation and is going to determine the use of time and money and how we'll deliver. And it's based on core competencies, which are going to be a vital ingredient to your secret sauce. The effective use of resources, because you're going to have you're going to know how to prioritize because of the other factors involved. The efficiency in getting your actionable knowledge and tangible output is going to be enabled by this well-built vehicle that you're building. And that gives you a competitive position and contributes to the secret sauce. Now, how we innovate and then putting it all together to create the greatest value, sorry for that typo, is where we end up. So that's where we want to end up. The greatest value, no potato fields in sight, good tangible output, actionable knowledge that we can use for astute decision making, proper prioritization, and all the rest. So that when we face a challenge, we face a hurdle, we solve it in the best way because we can do it. The 6 components of leadership, therefore, have to be addressed. It's not just this overarching stock of a special sauce that we have, but now we have to start adding ingredients to it as well, additional ingredients. So let's look at the 6 elements of leadership components defined by Ron Ashkenazi, hopefully I said his name right, and Brooke Manville from their Leader's Handbook from 2018. And let's look at each component and look at a couple of things in a little different way with respect to where they contribute to differentiating us, making us a little bit different, that secret sauce. Self-leadership has a lot to it, but my advice for today is to really look at your self-awareness and how you take in information and then how you communicate back information. If you really are in tune with how you communicate, that will help you later on down the line with taking in information from other people and understanding how they, when you communicate back, how they take in information as well. And taking in information is one of our big challenges that we have to deal with for astute decision making. So our guiding perspective is going to help us with that, but it helps to be self-aware on how best you take in information and really try to get people to understand that so they can help you out with that, because you have a lot on your plate. There are many leadership styles that are listed, but there are 2 dominant ones for us that have to be balanced, and one is the vision of what we have, and the other one is pace setting. Now, what we want to stay away from is a commanding leadership, which in a knowledge worker environment really doesn't have much of a place. Now, many will tell you in other industries that pace setting has to also be used minimally, but in our industry, it's really the dominant style of leadership. But do look at that. Because we obviously don't want just a vision. We have to bring it real. We're going to need pace setting style, but we want to avoid a commanding style. So take a look at those 3 in particular in your situation. We also want to be authentic. Even when we take on other leadership styles and start practicing them, we still want to remain authentic. Because you're special. You got to where you are because of who you are. And you don't want to lose that. Your company doesn't want to lose that. That's a benefit that you bring to the company. So we look at, improving your leadership, but always keep in mind that where we're going with this is to create the best version of you. We still want you in there, but the best version of you. The thing that we always think about with leadership and self-leadership and emotional intelligence is the idea of empathy. And empathy is not just for the team. And for today, I'd like to say that let's think of empathy more broadly than that. And let's think of empathy as empathy for our colleagues, empathy for our vendors, empathy for our contractors, everybody involved. Because the more you can empathize with what they have to do, and they sense that empathy, they sense that understanding, the smoother everything will go. And remember, we're shooting for the best operational effectiveness we can possibly get. So broaden your use of empathy. Work on it if you don't understand the hurdles or the situation that someone else is in. Find it out. Learn about them. Make sure you learn about them. Peter Drucker tells us that none of us are off the hook with respect to learning about each other in a knowledge worker environment. Vision is the second component. We're going to take some wisdom from Jim Collins and Jerry Porras, who have studied vision quite a bit in its role in leadership. And they say without vision, organizations have no chance of creating their future. They only react to it. So we think, well, in life science, we always have a vision. How can, that's part of our DNA to have a vision. But do we maintain it? And is it authentic? The vision must be authentic. It must jive with core ideology, which consists of core purpose and core values. So those things have to be consistent. So what's an example of a vision that's inauthentic? Well, can you imagine, excuse me, you start the company and the vision is a Florence Nightingale vision, meeting the unmet medical need, doing these extraordinary things that medicine just hasn't seen before, and really changing the practice of medicine and all the rest. I mean, how many of us have had that as our vision, part of our vision? It's not a mission statement, it's a vision. And then as things get tough or challenges are met or new inputs come in, investors, business people, whatever, not to blame the business people here, but what happens is we can have a disconnect there where we start to look at pursuing certain things for business reasons, not necessarily for medical reasons. And we can end up with an inauthentic vision where we want to be Florence Nightingale, but we're being, someone that's just looking at a quick profit. We don't want that. So that's inauthentic vision. So it's not to say you can't develop a company that is in the business of making money by improving delivery on something, making a product cheaper, or what have you. Those are all good things. But just be authentic in what you say you're doing. Make sure that it jives. Be honest with that, with what you're actually doing. It is a guide. It's not to differentiate. So vision is there to guide and inspire. And in a knowledge worker environment, that's going to be a big motivator. And it's going to be very important, for everyone. It envisions the future for everyone. So they know what they're working towards. They know what the feather they're going to be able to put in their cap, because it's going to deliver on that vision. And that's something that's going to not only attract personnel, but it's going to retain them. Well articulated, therefore, it attracts and retains the right team. Right being the operative word here. So you want people that are in alignment with your core ideology, and you want them all working along the same path and all believing in it as well. Now, the component is strategy, and that's about positioning, the uniqueness that's relevant to us, and how it's going to differentiate us, the differentiation. And that is, of course, directly related to your secret sauce. It's about how what you can do fits with what needs to be done and finding the best use of what you can do. It's about operational effectiveness and achieving that. Again, use of time and money. Can you do it better and more efficiently than other people? That can be a component of your secret sauce. It's about trade-offs, the trade-offs you choose to make. No opportunity is perfect. So that means that there are going to be some tough decisions to make on what you have to leave for now and what you have to pursue. And those trade-offs are guided by that guiding perspective. What does it mean for us in the long run, all the way considered to the patient and efficacy in the patient as well. So the more that we can use our guiding perspective, the more earnest we are about fit, for example, and practice that, the better off our strategy is going to be. It's also going to help us then choose what not to do, which Michael Porter says is the most difficult thing, and I can attest to that personally. As chief scientist of my company, it was really difficult as we went along in later stages of development of the company to stop many different proposals for doing this, that, or the other thing that could easily muddy our vision and get us off course. Choosing what not to do is very difficult. It takes a lot of energy, but it's less difficult if you have a strategy that everybody can look at and play off of. And you can, when you have a new opportunity and there's disagreement amongst the upper management about whether it should be pursued or not, then you have a good, honest, concrete conversation as it relates to positioning, uniqueness, differentiation, fit, and your operational effectiveness. You have some concrete things to grab hold of that you can deal with. How we choose to compete is then the last thing to think about. And make sure that it's consistent with your vision. The next thing and component is the team, which is usually what we think about with leadership. So there's a lot of aspects to dealing with the team, but let's touch on a couple just special for today. And that is to, when you hire, be sure that you're considering the alignment of values, their purpose, their self-purpose, their values, the core values of your company, the core part of the core ideology, and make sure you have a good fit there. That becomes important. We often think about skills of competence and experience, but really values have a lot to do with how well the person fits in, how well they're going to perform, how well you're going to be able to interact with that person. So do keep it as a consideration. Talent, of course, is one of those things that it's like pornography. You can't describe it exactly, but you know it when you see it. And so talent is the same way. When talent can come from an interview, specific hire. It can come internally through development of a junior staff where they develop a talent or you start to recognize it. When you recognize talent, grab it, because that is a special ingredient, a key ingredient of your secret sauce. Many times it will be a big contributor to that secret sauce. So don't leave out your values and don't discount talent. Don't just focus on skills of competence and experience. So when HR focuses on looking at years of experience or does this person have this line, that line in their resume, go to them and say, this is really what I'm looking for. I'm looking for vision, self-purpose, alignment. I'm looking for talent. Make them aware that you're looking for more, because there might be some gems that never end up on your desk and you don't want that. So you're really looking for talent and you're going to grab it, you're going to develop it as much as you can. Expertise is the last thing I want to touch on here with respect to teams and the consideration of expertise within your functional groups. Now, when we begin, we're the ones contributing a lot of expertise in a particular area, but certainly in life science, we're not expert in everything. We can't be. We're going to have to rely on expertise of others. And that means it's going to have to exist in others. You can't have a team of an army of young individuals with nobody that has the expertise that you might need. So you want to be aware of that. You want to blend it, because they say the rule of thumb is it takes 10 years to develop expertise. And so you're going to want to look for it in your hires, especially if you're just forming a team. Peter Drucker will tell us that leadership is about results, period. So results are our focus, right? That's our tangible output and actionable knowledge that contributes to astute decision making. Knowledge is the business. Knowledge is a specifically human resource. So the human element, even though we always think results is all about technology, knowledge, what we do with that information, is specifically human. It's effective by its contribution to the objective. So the more on target we can be with all of our experimentation, all of our other activities, the better off we're going to be, the more likely we are going to be in achieving operational effectiveness. It's also what creates that differentiation. So we're building for differentiation in the strategy, and as well as then building it in the team. But ultimately, the result of that and how our results are different from everyone else's comes about through the results and gaining those results. And companies differ in distinct knowledge. So we all have our sauces, if you will. Some people's are going to be more special than others, and some will be more secret than others, or whatever. But today, I hope that at the end, how you formulate a secret sauce won't be as secret as it might have been before. Because identifying that specific knowledge within a company takes practice, and I can attest to this personally. When we were a public company developing that first product, Morgan Stanley came to visit us, and we were probably about 2/3, 3/4. I don't quite remember what stage we were in, but we were quite far along in our product. We had already won an R&D 100 award for the in vitro product, so people knew we could actually make it, And so the Morgan Stanley people came and visited us, and they said, well, why are you guys doing it this way when other people aren't all clamoring to do it this way? They're looking at all kinds of other alternatives and everything. And I wanted to, in the back of my mind, I said, well, it's because they can't. Of course, I didn't say that. I didn't have an answer for them. I didn't know what it was, but I didn't know why the others couldn't do it. All I knew is that we could. That somehow, by the seat of our pants, with a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, we were able to do it. If you are aware of formulating your strategy, the 3 grounding practices, the team, how to construct the team, and how to keep your results on target, then that mystery won't be quite as much of a mystery. And today, I probably would have had some sort of an answer, although I don't know if I'd want to divulge our secret sauce, But just saying, well, we're better than everybody else, well, that certainly wasn't something that could come out of my mouth, at least. But I didn't have anything that I could tap into. But you find out different areas throughout this webinar, I hope, that can give you that idea where those ingredients lie within your organization. Now, the last but not least, you can probably tell I'm big on innovation. I love innovation. And innovation is doing or using something, knowledge and invention, technology, materials, sorry for that extra bullet, using these things differently in an unexpected way. Innovation relates to the quality and the novelty of what you do. And I've always thought that way, even from being a graduate student. So for me, I didn't even know it was innovation. I just thought, well, I think we can use this to solve that. And that's what it is really about. But it's very important that you keep that alive. You keep that mindset alive, because it can dissipate as you go from concept to market. It's the use of what's possible in a little different way, but you have to be courageous enough and confident enough to actually do it that way. And it's not just about science and engineering. Everybody, no one's off the hook with in a biotech. Excuse me. For example, to contribute innovation in what they're doing. No one is off the hook. Can you imagine going to the regulatory body with your brand new technology, never been put in a human before? And are you going to go there and say, well, FDA, just tell me what I need to do? Oh, heck no, you don't want to do that. You want a partnership with them. You're the ones that know the most about your technology. You're going to be required to educate them. You're being required to have them trust your judgment, by giving them good reasons why you're doing everything in a particular way. All of that will be important. And the wrong answer is, well, because it's expedient. Wrong answer. The right answer is, we innovated, we decided to use this and work on it and solve this and get this information in this way because they will respect you for it. Take my word for it. So we have the 6 components. We have some things to think about for formulate ingredients for the special sauce within each. But the 6 components now have to be cooked. They have to be melded and blended and put together. And Dan Goldman will tell us, the father of emotional intelligence, by the way, will tell us that all these elements, everything has to be put together in a way that resonates in order for us to gain exemplary leadership. And that's the goal, to be more correct than not, to have more, be happier than not, and all those things, and have an operational effectiveness that's going to be enviable. So all those things require that we grab hold and we make sure that these things are resonating together. So achieving resonance of the 6 components, I'll give you a simple way to think about it today. It has a lot to do, of course, with emotional intelligence and how we connect the dots and use our leadership skills to maintain the connection. But let's think of it again in a bird's eye view of things that you can take away and remember tomorrow, how to keep things all connected. And that's through confidence, courage, and caring. Confidence, can you imagine not being confident and having room to be caring, having room to be courageous? You won't. And if you don't have confidence, your vision is going to more likely be clouded, and your strategy is more likely to dissipate, to go off the rails. Your team is not going to have confidence. If you don't have confidence, they won't have confidence. And though the results will be impacted, and so will the innovation be impacted. So confidence supports courage in yourself and others. It enables caring. You have room for it. It maintains your authenticity. If you're not confident, you're going to try to change your behaviors perhaps and be someone that you're not. No, you want to be the best version of yourself. Maintain your authenticity. Be confident that you have something to offer. You are the leader and you can do it. You are the keeper of the vision. You're maintaining it. A confident leadership, your self-leadership that's confident, increases your joy. And from that, there's mood contagion, as Dan Goldman and colleagues point out, that then infiltrates the rest of the organization, your team, and other people as well. If they hear your laughter down the hall, they will feel good. They will experience more joy. Now, courage is something that we don't talk about in leadership, I think, enough. We think, oh, well, empathy, everything's about emotional intelligence, empathizing with other people, empowering the team, unleashing the team, as Frey and Morris say, and all that stuff. But to be a great leader takes courage. To maintain that vision takes courage. To excite the team, we have to maintain that vision, and we have to show them our courage so that they can be courageous. And having a courageous leader is very exciting. It demonstrates conviction for your end result. Remember, you're the keeper of the end vision. It shows that you have a conviction, that you have the courage to stay up on that ladder and be buffeted by the winds and not come down and shorten your perspective. It builds, therefore, trust in objectives. People trust them because you are really courageously pursuing them, and so they will courageously pursue them. And it inspires buy-in. When we're confident and courageous, we can then have some room to be caring. And caring is something that's going to foster commitment. It's going to feed your vision because you show you care about it. Another word is passion. You show your passion for what you're doing. That feeds into your strategy, and it goes directly into energizing your team and fostering their commitment. It's going to then support courage in others because you have their backs. You show that you care about the team, and you care about achieving the goals so much that they know they can stretch. By having their back, you're also increasing comfort and joy. It sounds like a Christmas carol. But that comfort and joy becomes very important for them to maintaining their courage, maintaining their level of proactive getting of results, and maintaining their innovation. And so that team then is able to feed results and innovation in a way that they wouldn't be able to if you didn't care, if you didn't have courage, and you weren't confident and they weren't confident. It's going to then bolster your innovation, and that's going to directly impact the value of your end output. So the return on investment of exemplary leadership, I think it probably is pretty obvious. It's enormous. Let's look at the emotional part of it first. The good weeks are more frequent. You arrive at work on Monday and you feel a smile spread across your face because you realize I'm handling it. I'm going to have a good week. Even if you have a board meeting, you have a quarterly R&D review, you have an investor meeting, a shareholders meeting, whatever it is, you're ready for it because you're energized by the long view and what it will achieve. You've maintained, you've stayed the course. You're anchored by your strategy. It's done in earnest. You're supported by a team on the same page. They believe in your vision. You communicated it well. They know where they fit because of your strategy. And you're confident because of this in your team's ability to achieve the extraordinary. That confidence radiates to their confidence, which radiates to getting results, which radiates to innovation and an operational effectiveness that is the best that you can do. You narrow the joy gap. This is one of my favorite pictures, and you just look at them laughing and enjoying their meeting, and you just think, boy, would I like to be in that meeting. Well, create those meetings. Create that joy. Create that laughter. Create it. And you can do that through your strong leadership. The tangible output is that your bold vision is realized. And why is that? Well, it's because the use of time and money is now efficient. The vision and strategy remain on point. All energy is focused in the same direction. No waste, no willy-nilly going off here and there. No waste of energy. Execution is highly effective for the reasons we've talked about. Innovation is differentiative. Remember that choice of making a detour or having the vehicle that's able to go up the mountain and making the right choice of what to do there and the best choice. That's going to differentiate you. That's part of the special sauce, secret sauce. All right, I always say special. I don't know why. And what happens is then industry leading objectives are met. We're closing that gap. We've closed the joy gap. Now we're closing that operational effectiveness gap in our pipeline programs, making for an enviable secret sauce. So imagine others from the outside looking in at your company and its accomplishments and thinking, what the heck is going on? How come they are able to do this? And here I am working at a company or even leading a company that is in the same space using pretty much similar technology, yet our company is struggling to survive, and that other company has just been bought out for $3 billion. What the heck happened? What is the difference here? We have all the personnel. What happened? This is what happened. So your secret sauce is really a culmination and a blending of all these things together in the best way possible, and keeping those 3 stock practices in mind to help unify and to help keep everything really tasty, if you will. Now I'd like to give you a couple ways that I can help you with your leadership if you so desire. The first is to deal with the short term. If you see a symptom of out of tune leadership and you need to jump on it, which you probably do, that is to help you get through and prepare for specific challenges. Say you have a big growth spurt you're anticipating, you have downsizing you're anticipating, whatever. Things happen, changes are going to happen with success and also with failure. And so you want to be prepared for it. I can help you do that. You can essentially lean on me to do that as you start to work on other areas of your leadership, which I strongly advise you to always do. But if there's something that's pretty immediate, that's not going to be able to wait, then by all means, give me a call or schedule a 30-minute introductory call so we can discuss whether this is the right option for you. Ideally, though, you don't want to keep doing whack-a-mole. You want all 6 to come together in a way that creates exemplary leadership, because that's the best way to achieve your goals. So ongoing comprehensive coaching is another way to do it. If you have a 3rd or 4th way, by all means, schedule an introductory call and talk to me about it. But what we want to do here is build and maintain exemplary leadership and keep your leadership highly effective and relevant. So we'll work one-on-one. We won't leave any stone unturned. We'll look at how we can develop additional skills where needed, and you'll get to practice it, and we'll get to talk about it. So again, my shoulder is there to lean on, but in a much broader way, and learning from my expertise as well. So I want to thank you for being here and reaching the end of this presentation. As a special attendee bonus, you have a 1-hour consultation, any questions, any topic on me. So I hope you use the link to the side to schedule that 1-hour consultation. I invite you to read more in the Leadership Lab newsletter on LinkedIn, and please do follow me if you don't already on LinkedIn, because I do post other things in addition to the Leadership Lab newsletter on occasion. And I wish you all the best. Thanks so much for attending. I hope I get to meet some of you. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.